Hello and welcome. Today I present my intensely delectable party style lamb jollof, whose incredible flavor continues to linger even after the party. Yes, that kind, friends. Let's start first by preparing an aromatic dry herb and spice mix. First, I have in my grinder half a teaspoon dry thyme, quarter teaspoon aniseeds, half teaspoon fennel seeds just went in, half teaspoon dry rosemary also going in now, half teaspoon crushed white pepper, and then I have 6 green cardamom pods. And if you have the powdered form of cardamom, then you only need a quarter teaspoon of it. Crush them coarsely and take a teaspoon of it to jumpstart the layering of flavors, beginning with the lamb. Now I have 4 pounds of bone-in lamb shank that have been cut into sizable pieces. Then add 2/3 teaspoon of curry powder. Jollof always benefits from that mystery taste profile umami, so I'm adding half a teaspoon of vegetable bouillon, followed by half tablespoon of ginger paste. Also adding half a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, which pairs very well with lamb. Also, the Dijon mustard addition is very reminiscent of Senegalese dibi, which is Senegalese style of grilling lamb, and that stuff is amazing. I have finely minced 3 cloves of garlic and added it. Now I'm just going to massage all of that in before I add 1 scotch bonnet chili. I am going to, however, remove the seeds because I really don't need the heat, just the flavor and aroma at this point. Also mix that in, cover it up, and let it sit in the fridge to marinate. The longer it marinates, the better, as we all know. While the lamb marinates, I have some time to prep the rest of my ingredients, which I will be roasting in the oven to give us that smoky flavor that jollof is known for, the party style jollof that is. So I have 2 red bell peppers I've cut into rings and removed the seeds. Gave the same treatment to 1 large onion, 1 green bell pepper, 2 scotch bonnet chilies whose seeds were also removed, 4 medium-sized vine tomatoes cut into halves, and place the tomatoes on the sheet pan with the cut side facing up to prevent excessive release of juices while it roasts. Also drizzle on your cooking olive oil or whatever oil you're using. Also sprinkle on some salt, coat them all evenly, and place in the oven and roast at 500 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes. Or until you see a significant amount of char, which is what's really going to eventually give us the smokiness, that ultimate smokiness we want. An hour and 30 minutes later is when I decided to pull the lamb out of the fridge. It's done marinating, and I've now added my salt. Had I added the salt earlier on, we would have so much moisture pulled out of the meat. I've also rinsed the marinating bowl with just a little bit of water and added it. I'm going to cook my lamb and have it tenderized in no time. I'm employing the use then of my pressure cooker, and that is going to take about 30 minutes and the meat will be perfectly tenderized. Now we're going to cook the stew, starting with some cooking olive oil, followed by 2 large onions that I have finely chopped. We're going to cook this until the onions start to caramelize, or until you start seeing some golden brown, just like so. Which should take approximately 10 minutes on medium heats. Then you're going to go in with your tomato paste. I have a half cup of tomato paste. I've also added 2 heaping tablespoons of ginger and garlic paste. Now, good jollof stew requires frying, and the frying must be done right. So you start with your moisture-based ingredients, and we have most of that in the oil right now. Fry for about 10 minutes or until the tomato paste separates into small beads. Then add 1 small bay leaf followed by the rest of the dry herb and spice mix we prepared in the beginning. Add some more bouillon, then some more curry powder because we want our tomato stew to be tasty. It's a good time to go in with some more salt to season all of these layers. Continue frying for the next 5 minutes, stirring periodically and on medium heat. And by this time, you should be experiencing that harmony in the aromas you have in the pot. It should be just so fragrant that it blows your mind. Now, 15 minutes later, our vegetables are done roasting, so we're going to blend them till really smooth. And 5 minutes of continued frying. After adding the bay leaf and the rest of the aromatics, this is what it should be looking like. The mixture should be looking like. There is not much more frying you can do. All the moisture is gone. And that's a good time to go in with your blended roasted vegetables. Also, that blender must be rinsed. Don't waste anything. So rinse with a little bit of water and add it. And now you want to stir it well to ensure that both components in the pot are evenly distributed. We'll continue to fry, this time on low medium heat. Place the lid on and vent it, so that way you're not building up on steam, which will create more moisture. And the goal is to fry the moisture out, all right? Now our meat or our lamb is done tenderizing, so we separate the meat from the broth and add the broth to the pot of stew. Stir it in, vent with the lid on, and continue to fry on low medium heat for about 20 to 25 minutes, stirring periodically. And this is what you should find after 25 minutes or so have passed. Your stew, even the color of it should have changed. All right, you can tell it's actually deepened, not only in color but also in flavor. I am skimming a lot of the oil off. I will be using some of that oil skimmed off to give a light fry to our lamb. This way, we'll also have the jollof flavor on the lamb. Remember, we added the broth of the lamb to the jollof stew, so that has already occurred in terms of the exchange of flavors. So we're going to give a light fry, almost like a pan grill, to these lamb, and we're doing this on medium-high heat. What we want to see is a little bit of a golden brown to the outer surface of the meat. Now we'll take those out here shortly and fry the next batch. Now I'm also going to freshen the taste of the lamb up, also the aroma, using some Thai basil, and you can use regular basil for this if that's what you have on hand. So I'm just giving the basil a quick chiffonade. I recommend also adding your favorite finishing vegetables at this point. Stir fry them with the meat just lightly, and that will freshen it all up in the end. And I chose red onions because they are sweeter and less harsh. Done. Let's do the next batch and our lamb will be ready for serving. When it's all done with the lamb, I will set it in the oven, cover it with a foil to keep it nice and warm until serving time. Today I have chosen to use good old fragrant long grain jasmine rice. This is the non-sticky kind, friends. Where I buy my jasmine rice, the sticky long grain and the non-sticky are packaged in very, very similar packaging. So I always make sure I am cross-checking, just in case that's the same for you. Just keep that in mind. Now, the rice is a total of 6 cups, and I have washed it thoroughly. That is also very essential when you want those single grained jollof rice when it's done cooking. All right, and that's the only way you must have your jollof rice anyway. All right, you want them to be fluffy grains. So I have washed it thoroughly. What you want to see is the water should run clear when you have washed it a few times. I washed it maybe four times, and I've added it to the rice. But prior to that, I reserved a couple of ladles of the jollof stew. It is a thing I like to do when especially I make a big batch of jollof rice. The stew will always come in handy in the end, so keep on watching. Another big question regarding cooking the perfect jollof rice is how much water really do you need to add in order to get your fluffy single grained jollof rice? Well, just make sure the water is enough to coat each grain of rice. You don't want too much water on the surface of the rice. Why? Because the stew itself is moisture, really, if you think of it, right? So if you add too much water, you're very close to getting mushy instead of fluffy rice. What you want to do is cook the rice with steam. So after adding your water, you stir it to make sure it's combined. Then place the lid, turn the heat down to medium-low, and cook for about 20 minutes. Go back, stir it, all right? So move the top to the bottom and vice versa. And at this stage, you're also gauging to see if you need to add a little more moisture in terms of maybe a broth or more stew or water. I chose to add more stew. This is how the stew I reserved comes in handy, just to introduce a little more moisture to it. And also at this stage, you can richen things up by adding some butter, some ghee, coconut oil, whatever you fancy, and just make sure you're folding it in. Be careful because the rice grains are nearing tender and you can break them. You want them to stay fluffy and long and elegant, right? Place the lid on, and this time you want to turn the heat down all the way to the lowest setting and cook with the steam. Even at this point, you can capture or trap the steam with a parchment paper, foil, or any leaf. All right, and cook for the next 30-35 minutes, and it should be perfectly cooked through. The rice grains should be translucent. They should also be tender, no crunchy areas. They should be fluffy and ready to serve. And of course, they should be packed with so much flavor. On this day, I cooked the jollof for some friends of the family. They requested it, and it is always a pleasure to cook for others. And so I packaged it in my foil container. I had my lamb pieces, came out of the oven still nice and warm. Freshened things up with some more Thai basil and some onions. Placed the lid on and gave them a call and told them, hey, your food is ready. Come pick it up. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you're inspired to try the recipe. Make it a great day and have fun, especially in that kitchen.
Thank you, beautiful person, for watching the video all the way to the end. Kindly leave me a comment and subscribe down below. And don't forget to share the video as well. Also, watch more videos. It is chop time, and here in Anaba's kitchen, chop time is always yes, friends. So pull up a chair. We are all friends and family here.